To submit questions for Jesse Williams, please use the Future of Wealth Summit app and post them in the activity stream. Please start with hashtag AskJesse so we can identify them quickly. To submit questions for Jesse Williams, please use the Future of Wealth Summit app and post them in the activity stream. Please start with hashtag Ask Jesse so we can identify them quickly. To submit questions for Jesse Williams, please use the Future of Wealth Summit app and post them in the activity stream. Please start with hashtag Ask Jesse so we can identify them quickly. To submit questions for Jesse Williams, please use the Future of Wealth Summit app and post them in the activity stream. Please start with hashtag AskJesse so we can identify them quickly.
Is being replicated in the digital sphere.
You don't get what you don't fight for.
We need leaders within government agencies.
My name is Maya Rockymore. I'm President and CEO of the Center for Global Policy Solutions. Our mission is to drive society toward inclusion, and we do that with a focus on health, education, wealth, and digital inclusion opportunities. The Future of Wealth Summit is April 26th through the 28th in Washington, D.C. And the purpose of the summit is to educate people about how wealth and asset building can provide a vehicle for economic opportunity, especially for marginalized communities. In the past, we focused on everything from entrepreneurship to retirement security to education as an opportunity. And this year, we're focused on technology, the role that technology can play in providing better opportunities for communities of color and for women. People can expect to hear from exciting speakers, people at the cutting edge of technological innovation. They can expect to hear from policymakers, people you see on TV, you'll see in person at our summit. You'll hear everything from panels to TED Talks, really engaging dialogue and discussion that is really kind of bringing home this issue of technology inclusion and social change. In the years prior, we've had members of Congress, more than 25 have attended our summit. Everyone from Senator Elizabeth Warren to Congressman John Conyers to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. It's been exciting to listen to policymakers talk about their insight about the color of wealth and the future of wealth and what that means for our nation. We had Robert F. Smith several years ago, and he brought great insight and wisdom in terms of, what's happening with Vista Equity Capital. This conference is for anybody who is interested in wealth building and asset building as an opportunity for community and individual growth. This year's focus on technology, inclusion, and social change is actually showing how we can actually leverage technology to build wealth. It's really also focused on women and people of color, people who have been marginalized in our society historically. We're seeking to boost opportunities for these folks and to drive home policy solutions and practice solutions that can make a difference in their lives. To register for the conference, visit our website, globalpolicysolutions.org. We can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to the 2017 Future of Wealth Summit. We will be starting the speaking program shortly. Please begin to take your seats.
When I was 9 years old, I baked my first cake. When I was growing up, there was no celebrity chefs, there was no Food Network channel, so I never envisioned being able to become a baker as a career. In order to be a good baker, you have to put love into it because people can taste the love. The energy that you put into a baked good comes out. So love is what makes a good baked good. To be a business owner, it takes hard work, it takes dedication. And I was fortunate to be a part of Detroit Kitchen Connect, which is a nonprofit that's funded through JP Morgan Chase. Hey, how you doing? Detroit Kitchen Connect connects food entrepreneurs to licensed commercial kitchens that they can rent in order to produce their goods to sell to the public. When I started, I didn't have the capital required to build out a commercial kitchen. And without Detroit Kitchen Connect, I wouldn't have been able to open up my business when I opened it up. I could have opened my bakery so many other places, but I wanted to be in Detroit. I feel that that's our contribution to the revitalization of Detroit, because
Special situation this evening. We have one of the nation's leading advocates for all Americans, not just people of color, not just women, not just low-income people, all Americans. She's a champion for finding solutions to poverty. She's a champion for promoting wealth. She's a champion for promoting health. She has been a long-serving member of Congress from California. She has stood up to amazing presidents, but she has stood in their way and told them, no, you cannot do this. And it is with my great pleasure to introduce someone who has been a friend to me and my family, someone who has been there when I needed it. Congresswoman Barbara Lee of the great state of California, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, and I will be very brief, but first of all, Dr. Rockeymoore, let me thank you so much for your tremendous leadership and for, all of the work that you're doing each and every day, and to all of you in terms of racial justice, economic justice, and equity. It really makes a difference to have such a tremendous leader, such as yourself, here in Washington, D.C., doing the hard work with the unbelievably unfortunate, backward Congress and Senate and White House at this point. And so stay, as we say in California, stay woke, stay woke. But very quickly, just a bit about our Tech 2020 initiative of the Congressional Black Caucus. I come from Oakland, California, right next door to Silicon Valley. Hey, Oakland in the house. And for many, many, many years, my constituents have been trying to break into the tech sector as it relates to not only the tech jobs, but the human resource positions, legal services, accounting, the supplier diversity programs, all of the wonderful opportunities in Silicon Valley. But it's been very difficult. Lawsuits have been filed, never could break through. So finally, when Congressman Butterfield was chairing CBC, I went to him and we talked about the issues of equity in the tech sector, and we decided to, because of my experience right next door to Silicon Valley, to really look at this from a Congressional Black Caucus perspective. So we established Tech 2020. And we are still working on Tech 2020, and that really is about the inclusion of African Americans in all aspects of the tech sector. And I just want to read to you very quickly the principles, because with the Center for Global Policy Solutions, you're really leading the way with this Future of Wealth conference this week. And it fits so well with what we're doing at the CBC. And our principles are transparency. Companies must set inclusion goals, release data annually, centralize information, education and training, support STEM and HBCUs, corporate responsibility and investment. That means increase board diversity, make sure we target philanthropic investment, expand venture capital, hiring and retention. And so we based our Tech 2020 initiative on those principles. And we're making some progress. But I have to say that it takes all of us to do this. And Reverend Jesse Jackson with Rainbow Push has been such a phenomenal leader. And so we have worked with Reverend Jackson, with the tech sector, with the Congressional Black Caucus to move this forward. And so we're going to need all of you to really pay attention to this movement now, because income inequality is rampant. And in the African American community, racial inequality and income inequality really puts a burden, a continuing burden on the backs of our children, our young people, and our families. And so we have to look to the future. The tech sector is going to be, I think they're estimating over 1.5 million jobs by 2020 that are going to go unfilled in the tech sector. And so we have the brilliance, the brains, the heart, the spirit, the know-how to fill those jobs and to also be the entrepreneurs. And so what you're going to do for the next few days, I know will help prepare you to move forward, to help us make sure that the tech sector becomes as inclusive as it should be. Here in America, there's no excuse that tech companies hire maybe 2 to 4% African Americans. That's outrageous. It's a shame and disgrace. So finally, let me just quote what Reverend Jackson says about this. He says, "To be left behind in tech is to be left behind." And so thank you again, Maya, very much. Thank all of you for being here, and hope you have a wonderful summit.
Okay, so that was not the start. So go back to enjoying your reception food, and I will be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
When I was 9 years old, I baked my first cake. When I was growing up, there was no celebrity chefs, there was no Food Network channel, so I never envisioned being able to become a baker as a career. In order to be a good baker, you have to put love into it because people can taste the love. The energy that you put into a baked good comes out. So love is what makes a good baked good. To be a business owner, it takes hard work, it takes dedication. And I was fortunate to be a part of Detroit Kitchen Connect, which is a nonprofit that's funded through JP Morgan Chase. Hey, how you doing? Detroit Kitchen Connect connects food entrepreneurs to licensed commercial kitchens that they can rent in order to produce their goods to sell to the public. When I started, I didn't have the capital required to build out a commercial kitchen. And without Detroit Kitchen Connect, I wouldn't have been able to open up my business when I opened it up. I could have opened my bakery so many other places, but I wanted to be in Detroit. I feel that that's our contribution to the revitalization of Detroit because I'm a Detroit native. My mother's here, and between the two of us, we operate the bakery each day. It's wonderful working with my mother because I get to spend a day reminiscing with her. Everybody in the neighborhood would get a pound cake.
They sure would.
And you never charged people to make them, you just made them.
I sure did.
I was told by my mother I had to go to school for something that was gonna pay bills, so I went to school for business. I have an MBA in corporate accounting, and then I attended school to get a degree in pastry arts. Whenever I go back to Detroit Kitchen Connect, there's a flood of memories to come because that's where it all started. What I do every day is a passion. I love it. I'm at peace when I'm doing it. I don't care how tired I am here with a smile on my face, baking and creating stuff for people. I know this is my passion, my love, and my dream is coming true.
Welcome to the 2017 Future of Wealth Summit. Please welcome Center for Global Policy Solutions President and CEO, Dr. Maya Rockeymoore. Welcome to the 2017 Future of Wealth Summit. Please welcome Center for Global Policy Solutions President and CEO, Dr. Maya Rockeymoore.
My third welcome to the 2017 Future of Wealth Summit. My name is Maya Rockeymoore. I'm President and CEO of the Center for Global Policy Solutions, and we are here for the next few days for a very, very important topic: technology, inclusion, and social change. Now, we have typically focused on health, education, wealth, economic security, civic success, but we began to realize that if we were not talking technology, and if we as a communities are not talking technology, we're not in the game. The game now and in the future involves technology. If you are not fluent, if you do not understand, if you do not have skills, if you do not have knowledge that actually integrates technology into the other areas of what you know, then you will literally be left behind on the sidelines of an entirely new economy. And yet we know that the future of wealth is you. We know that the future of wealth are your children. And we know that we have the talent, we have the innovation, we have the skills and the ability to not only understand and play the game, but dominate as well. So I'd like to just tell you that we are, in this next few days, discussing everything from artificial intelligence and big data to fintech, venture capitalism, and diversity and inclusion in the tech sector. And we don't want to leave out technology and social change given the times that we're in. So with that, we're talking everything tech, and we're looking forward to an exciting and dominating conversation. And so before we get things started tonight, I would like to acknowledge some very special guests. Google and JP Morgan Chase & Company, and also our advocate sponsor, Ebroji. Can we give them all a hand? also like our board members to please stand. Several of them are here, and I would like for them to be acknowledged. There are several in the back. We want to thank our board members for all of their great service to our organization. Without them, we could not do the work that we do. You will, for the next several days, see members of the team from the Center for Global Policy Solutions. And for those who are in the room, could you please wave? We want to thank you for all of your hard work and everything you've done to pull this together. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge someone who is a bad sister. Someone who I have been watching for a very long time. I've seen her holding it down with the best of the best and giving it to them word by word, line by line, giving it back to them. What they give out, she dishes out too. She's so phenomenal that she has just been stellar in terms of her career. Her name is Star Jones. And she will be serving as our host this evening. She is the president and a member of the board of directors of the National Association of Professional Women and the Professional Diversity Network. Star leads a nationwide team that supports and advocates for the Professional Diversity Network. She also directs the organization's development and programming strategy. She began her career as a senior district attorney and was also co-host of ABC's The View for 9 years. She's also the author of three best-selling books. She's a national volunteer for the American Heart Association, an expert on diversity and inclusion, women's health, and women's empowerment issues. Please join me in welcoming my friend Star Jones.
How are you this evening? What a pleasure to be here. I love being the hostess, hopefully hostess with the mostest. I want to thank you for the kind introduction, Maya, and of course, thanks to the Center for Global Policy Solutions for this opportunity to join you here this evening for such an important issue. I have to give you a confession. I've actually, in the past month, had the exact same think tank gathered. The first one was down in Palm Beach with managing the disruption. Now, interestingly enough, that group was a group of billionaires led by Jeff Green down in Palm Beach asking these exact same questions. And what I find interesting is the billionaires put together their group of people who are going to make sure they keep making money. I am so glad that Maya and her team from the Center for Global Policy Solutions putting together our think tank so we can keep making money. I am so proud to be a part of this event this time. I'm so glad. And over the next 3 days, the summit really is going to look at the future of wealth through the lens of, as Maya said, technology, inclusion, and social change. And then we're going to explore ways to expand diversity and inclusion in the tech sector. It's my hope that this event will bring together those thought leaders in business and academia and government, nonprofits, to create really new opportunities and expand the existing ones that can really complement a rapidly changing economy. Everything from artificial intelligence to virtual assistants. I understand there's a concern that jobs will be taken and replaced by robots sooner rather than later. It's not about the robots, it's just about automation. When a virtual reality information officer greets me at the airport to tell me where I'm going, where my gate is, and answer my questions, that's somebody that just lost their job. So this summit is designed to help us come up with the strategies to guard not just against it, but to prepare for it. On the final day, up-and-coming tech innovators who are developing platforms or programs to improve the social and economic well-being of traditionally underserved communities will compete for a $10,000 grant through the Inclusion Revolution Innovation Competition. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Tonight, though, we do have the honor of hearing from activist, actor, and Ebroji co-founder Jesse Williams, who I like to refer to as that smart, woke brother who does not suffer fools and will intelligently check you with a quickness. You know this is going to be good, right? But before we hear from Mr. Williams, I would like to introduce Ms. Chanel Hardy, Strategic Outreach and Partnership Director at Google. We had a wonderful conversation about opening the doors of technology to various communities and the things that she's doing. She's going to provide welcome remarks on behalf of one of tonight's title sponsor, her own Google. Chanel?
Good evening. The great innovator George Washington Carver once said, "Most people search high and wide for the key to success. If they only knew the key to their dreams lies within." And I'm really passionate about the truth of that statement because if there is one thing in this sometimes extremely crazy world I know, it is that there is a depth of brilliance, of creativity, of resilience, of what some of us call magic, for people of color, to Black and Brown and Asian American and Indigenous people. And contrary to what too many may say, we are not just followers in the world of innovation. We are not merely consumers. We are not faceless statistics on the wrong side of the digital divide. No, we are engineers and copyright policy experts and inventors. We are economists and activists and hashtag campaign creators. We are expert communicators and YouTube celebrities and self-made bloggers turned best-selling authors turned television geniuses. We are healing our sick and teaching our children and saving our planet. We are making our ancestors and our descendants proud. That's why I am profoundly grateful for the work of the Center for Global Policy Solutions and excited about the opportunity to support the work under the visionary and uncompromising leadership of Dr. Maya Rockeymoore. This organization is focused not only on sounding alarms, not only on pointing out what is going wrong. As the name says, this organization is focused on solutions. Over the next 2 days, we will hear from some tremendous experts and have some rich conversations about the opportunities and challenges that are posed by our increasingly tech-driven society. We will talk about the impact of automation on the labor market. We will talk about the risks of the misuse of data. We will explore the unintended consequences of fintech and the sharing economy. But we will also talk about the ways in which people of color are using this transition from tech as a thing that exists in Silicon Valley, that is only understood by white engineers from a select set of schools, that's not relevant to the work of justice and housing in our judicial system, in our education and labor systems. Today, we understand that tech, as Maya eloquently said, is part of everything. And as such, we will not and must not come to the table as supplicants. We must come to the table as experts. Who better to speak to the preparation of our workforce for this next stage of industrial revolution than the civil rights and racial justice experts who know firsthand what communities need to prosper and thrive? Who better understands the need for online tools, free online tools, to build a business on a shoestring budget, where those extra dollars saved could make or break your bottom line? And who better understands, as the iconic John Lewis said, if we had the technology, if we had the internet during the movement, we could have done more, much more, to bring people together from all around the country to organize and work together to build the beloved community. That is why it is so important for us to protect the internet. Google is honored to be a sponsor of the Future of Wealth Summit because we share your belief that technology is an enabler of opportunity, of creativity, and of learning. We also know that technology is only a tool. It is up to each of us as users and as builders to use it to shape our shared future. That's why we're investing and supporting the work of leaders that are connecting the dots between racial justice, inclusion, and technology. Why we recently announced the new Howard West project to collaborate with HBCU leaders and students to strengthen the connection between an HBCU computer science degree and a job in our sector. Thank you. That's why we invested in the most tech-savvy museum on the National Mall. and are proud to be a founding donor to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, where we are currently working to build thank you, an interactive 3D display wall created by Black Google engineers, and why we launched our Google Next Generation Policy Leader Initiative to identify and partner with distinguished young leaders that are connecting racial justice and technology. And I know we have some in the audience now, so would the Google Next Gen leaders here please stand? So with that, I enjoy with you. I'm very excited and looking forward to what we're going to do together over the next 2 days. Not only myself, but some of my other Google colleagues will be here, and we really look forward to the opportunity to engage with you. Don't hesitate to come up and chat. And thanks again, Maya and the board of the Center for Global Public Policy Solutions for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Chanel, and thank you, Google, for all that you do. Thank you to all of the sponsors who have so generously donated their time, their energy, their money to help us put this together. And now I am pleased to introduce tonight's featured speaker, Mr. Jesse Williams. Yo, you get music, Jesse. I'm going to give a little stuff. Let me just say a little something, okay? Y'all don't get to bring me all the way here and I don't say something about Jesse. Now, come on. A native of Chicago. I recently moved there, Jesse, just so you know. And with my man, okay. And a graduate of Temple University. Jesse began his career teaching at low-income Philadelphia public charter schools. After moving to New York City, he later began his professional acting career. Jesse stars in ABC's Grey's Anatomy as the tremendously talented Dr. Jackson Avery. And I can honestly tell you that I have never missed an episode of Grey's Anatomy. I can tell you every storyline from the beginning to the end, and just had a stimulating conversation with Dr. Jackson Avery. How excited I was that they really and truly represented what the HIPAA obligations were when he was deciding whether or not to tell Maggie that her mother had cancer. Thank you very much. That is the truth. I did make that boy listen to me. Anyway, other than being Dr. Jackson Avery, he has served as senior producer and correspondent for the Epix docuseries America Divided with Norman Lear. He also executive produced the documentary Stay Woke, the Black Lives Matter movement. Jesse founded the production company Far World Incorporated and is an executive producer of Question Bridge Black Males, a series of transmedia art installations, films, curriculum, and websites. Jesse also hosts a podcast, Open Run, through a partnership with LeBron James' digital network, Uninterrupted. He is a board member, brand ambassador, and partner in the company Scully. Did I say it right? Scully. And co-founder of Ebroji, the first curated, do you say GIF? Okay, look, I'm old, I'm 55, okay? So, but GIF, okay, wonderful. Mobile keyboard app designed specifically to enhance the way we already communicate. Jesse will be joined on stage for a moderated conversation by another immensely talented brother, Ruben Harris. Give him a round of applause, please. I had another stimulating conversation about my goddaughters whose internships at Google and Delta led to jobs after Spelman graduation. So I was pulling his ear when it comes to the kind of work that he also does. Ruben is the co-founder of the Breaking Into Startups podcast and a contributor for publications such as TechCrunch and Black Enterprise. Breaking Into Startups podcast seeks to demystify the process of getting jobs in Silicon Valley, a community that has struggled to expand diversity and inclusion. And his podcast has reached over 3 million people and achieved over 100,000 downloads since its founding. Bravo, brother, bravo. You can join the conversation too by downloading the Future of Wealth Summit app and submitting questions via the activity stream with the hashtag #AskJesse. So now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our featured speaker and our moderator, Mr. Jesse Williams and Mr. Reuben Harris.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Can we give another round of applause for Star Jones, Dr. Rocky Moore, and Antonio for organizing this amazing event? So Jesse, I saw you this morning on Twitter. You were with Auntie Maxine. You got thousands of retweets. What was that all about?
Me and another member of the Abroji team, Dion Jones, went down. Went up to the Hill and hung out with Auntie Maxine, our newly designated. Well, not newly, but she's kind of getting a lot of new attention. Miss Waters has always been the G that she is, but now she's kind of become a Queen of Shade.
Yeah, you gave her Queen of Shade t-shirt.
She's a fan of Abroji, and we created a Queen of Shade T-shirt for her that she held up and really loved. She got really excited. She really loves being embraced by millennials now, and it's really great to see somebody who's always walked the walk for us and told it like it is. This is the age of folks appreciating straight shooters that we deserve, and so it's great to see her recognized and to spend some time with her. And then stopped in on the Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus, hung out with them during their session, talked about a whole range of issues, and luckily it timed out nicely. There was a wonderful school, Wilder School from Inglewood, Black charter school that is doing tremendous work and has an incredible graduation rate, and we got to hang out with them. I always love to get back around students because I do miss the classroom.
So, I mean, you're an actor, you're an activist, you're working on Abroji. You had this amazing speech at BET, which was great. Tell us a little bit more about Abroji and how all of this connects to what you're working on.
I think, the origin story of Abroji is something I certainly want to share. You mentioned the speech, which I think is, I do many things, and the speech was certainly one of them. I've talked that way always, but that happened to be a larger platform. And one of the things that comes out of something like that, aside from death threats and adulation and good and bad things, is that question of kind of, and now what do we do? What are you doing about it? What can I do about it? Which generally I think is sometimes an unfair question that is put on the oppressed in general, is if you dare, not if you cause a problem, but if you happen to notice the problem, then you immediately have to discover the solution, or else how dare you bring it up in the first place. But one of the things that we've been looking at outside of the work I do with Advancement Project, on the ground work, policy work, Black Lives Matter movement work, is something kind of more common, broad, and ubiquitous than that, which is just language. The way we communicate, how we communicate, the politics of language. Language is inherently political. Language is inherently a reflection of culture or cultures, intertwining, intermixing, as is dialect, slang. What is ghettoized? What is revered? What is sophisticated? What is too simple and reductive? Or what is too flourishy and complex? And who owns language and whose is it? When is it okay to appropriate it or use it to demean folks? And so we wanted to look at this new wild, wild west that is tech, and the space of social media, where, like everything else in America, Black culture really drives what the trending topics, conversations, phrasing, the way we speak, how we dance, different trends. It is a reflection of American culture, and it is very often turned into something that we should be ashamed of until it filters through white pop culture and then is sold back to us with some jeans that are on fleek and you're saying it wrong. We're supposed to feel bad for saying bling, and then it's in the dictionary, and it's the word for jewelry, and we all use it and mean it, and because they say it, because a white man says it on SportsCenter, it's now valid. So we're used to, I think, being folks of color, particularly Black folks in this country, are used to having to squeeze ourselves into the body of the white protagonist to relate and feel like we're included in the story. And because we're very rarely that protagonist. And through language, we found that there was an opportunity to look at how impactful something like Black Twitter is, how impactful the movement for Black Lives was online, how we swag out Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram and Vine especially as an expression of ourselves and our culture. But we don't own any of those things. They're not designed for us or by us. We are not in any positions of power or decision-making process in those corporations, but we add so much value to them. We keep them afloat in many ways. What can we do about that? And what can we do about having some agency and ownership of our own language? Not being ashamed of the way we talk, not having to squeeze our forms of expression into things that are considered more professional or sophisticated. So these are all big ideas, obviously, but we wanted to do something that was also just simply fun and something that embraced our culture and met our community where they were in terms of the language that they used. So that started a very basic first iteration is we were looking at something as simple as emojis. And until recently, they were just white people. And it's a very 2D basic graphic. Is it too hard to add some color to the face? Like, is it expensive? Do you need to borrow money? Like, what's the problem with why you can't have various shades of skin on the emojis? And so we were like, we're going to build that. We're tired of kind of sitting around going, well, how come they don't? How come we're not included? How come they don't make that for us? And let's just build it ourselves. And then we started, let's not get caught in the present only. Let's be thinking about our future. And what's next? What's beyond a static 2D image? If I send you a winking emoji, you've seen it. I can't say I'm going to send it to you 30 more times. It's going to be the same. You're not going to have a new, refreshing experience. So we looked at what's particular about Black culture, Black oral tradition, Black physicality, Black behavior, is how much we can do, how many ways we can say one word or express an idea with a head nod, with a wink, with a chin down, something real basic. We can be real shady with a blink. You didn't even see what just happened. I just told you the story of somebody's experience. And that's something that we really wanted to embrace, and it's what drives the meme culture. It's how so quickly somebody can get roasted or MJ cried online. We're really, really creative, and none of us are trained or groomed in that space. And so we thought that the GIF was really held a lot of potential for Black expression because, we consistently get real-time updates with everything that happens every day. There's new GIFs. Star Jones gave us a couple GIFs tonight. I peeped. But you can pack so much in. There's so much content there in forms of expression, but also it is an opportunity for us to curate a keyboard, for your keyboard, reactions and idioms and ways to communicate that are in the language we already use rather than trying to constantly go search the internet for that one GIF that maybe makes me feel like what I'm trying to communicate now, is that LOL, is it not? Like, if I want to use Black English or Black language, and I really mean, I want to respond to what you're texting me with, come on, son. That's the name of our category. We don't have to make it corporate and clean. It's come on, son. It's shade. I mean, it's are you mad? It's tea. That's the name of it. Let's stop trying to clean it up. That's the way we speak. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who one of the things she loved about it was that I don't have to scroll very far because the words that I'm thinking in my head are on the keyboard, as opposed to trying to somehow inject my culture into the blandness of the categories that are given. And what Abroji really is about is not being showy. It's not about just goofy comedy or cat videos. It's about communication. What are you trying to communicate? And what we realized is that no matter if you're using Instagram or Snapchat or what's popular of the day, whatever app is popular of the day, what we all do is we text. We send 8 trillion texts a year. Send 33 to 37 texts a day on average. Some of y'all sent those before noon. You in particular, I can tell. And so that's true for texting, never mind emails. And those things, what happens is we lose tone sometimes and texture. We've all had that awkward work email. Did they know I was kidding? Did they know I was joking? Do I need to have a follow-up? I was always somebody, Ruben, who refused. I don't know if you were this way as a guy, but I refused to use emoticons before you had emojis. I was like, I don't know, some macho BS thing, I'm not going to do a wink and a semicolon and I don't know how to do it. So I would literally write, if I was the guy who used emoticons, I would hit you with a winking smiley face right now. But you're using those to kind of add levity to a potentially tenuous or tension-filled situation. And we've realized that GIFs, which could be 2 seconds or 30 seconds, are a way to kind of express ourselves and use black bodies and brown bodies and gay bodies and trans bodies to communicate love or I miss you or hurry up, you're late. It doesn't always have to be a blonde person. There's no reason for it. It's 2017. And guess what? White folks are not scared of using our bodies to express themselves. They're lying when they say that we can't put black people in movies or shows because nobody will watch them. They will watch them. The Ralph Bunche School at UCLA proves every year that the more diverse a movie is, the more money it makes. They've been lying to you. Diversity sells. There are more of us than them, and the people are not, there's nothing particular about white heritage that means they refuse to see us. They will. Fast and the Furious made $500 million in a week, and they're all brown. Good Lord, what was the question?
No, that was a great answer. That was a great answer.
But all of those things, look, it's complex being black.
Yeah.
And everything, the very simple answer of it, why we made it, is because we had to live our whole lives being black.
Yeah, no, you covered the answers to a lot of the questions that I was going to ask you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good night. Thank you.
But yeah, no, like that. So it sounds like Abroji is an app that enhances communication.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it's a way for us to be. That's right. That's right. But yes, it starts through gifts, but it really is it's a lot more than that for us.
Yeah. I mean, people use it. I use it. My girl uses it.
Yeah.
From what I understand, the reality TV gifts are the most popular. How do you go about curating the gifts into the
Well,
app?
luckily for us, our audience is really, really active. I mean our user base. People touch Abroji about 4 times, and they use it daily. At repeat usership, about 4 times as much as the average app. And so that level of interaction stimulates a lot of feedback, which is to upload. They make suggestions. These are the gifts we want you to use. This is what's popping right now. This is what we're talking about. This is what Taraji did last night on the awards show. It's very crowdsourced, user generated themes. So we get the gifts that are submitted to us. We curate them, we categorize them. We constantly update and change the names of the categories. We had a category that was all about fashion, and we switched that to bad and bougie, because that's what was happening at the moment, right? So we can ebb and flow with what's happening, because what's interesting is that so many corporations spend so much time chasing cool, right? Finding out what are the kids doing, what's cool, and then 6 months later cranking out some campaign that's late and wrong. And we don't have to do that because we are cool.
True.
And we're cutting that out, cutting out a middleman, cutting out a step. We depend on we're responding to the community that we're serving. We built this product really out of a love for art and visual expression, and seeing how the community communicates and meeting them exactly there, and not trying to squeeze them into another box. So we're kind of more of a responsive company than just trying to sell you something.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, let's go a little bit deeper on language. I know language is really important, speaking to people in their language. How does, have you seen, why is it important to speak to people in their language when it comes to like retention and just making people feel like they belong and things like that?
I think there is something really validating about folks being met where they are, not excluding people and their experiences from the conversation and from having any value. I think that something as basic as one of the things that people love about Abroji is something that happened last night, something that Auntie Maxine did today at a press conference, goes up pretty quickly on Abroji. And so for it to be something that it means something to us, and when I go to look for an eye roll GIF and I see that, I know what it means, and I know it matters to the people I'm talking to, and it's validating to have a service also meet me on that level, rather than me having to go and dig on the internet to find something to have a private stash of my own gifts on the side because nobody makes anything for us, so I got to make my own personal little duffel bag of it, and then everybody else does. It's a lot of extra work to have to kind of carry your culture in a side pocket instead of having something that is made of it and for it. So I think there's value there of people being met exactly where they are, and I think that language has done an interesting thing. I think, if you look back at hieroglyphs, pictographs, kind of where language started, right, in Africa, And it gets increasingly complex and flourishy, and people love a sophisticated prose, and we want to have 17 different ways to say something, and that's lovely. And then we're seeing it kind of circle back around now, I think, to short form, shorter form, LOL, acronyms, emojis. How can I say the most with the least? How can I be most efficient again? So we're going back around in that circle, and I think that it's important for us to be responsive to that and not fight it and get really crabby and old. And back in my day, we used a full damn sentence. Yeah. And if I was going to laugh out loud, I would do it 10 miles in the snow. You know, this is how people are talking. Yeah. And there is value in efficiency. Yeah. And what I think a difference for us, though, is being able to simplify without stripping out the complexity of communication. Language can be simple without being reductive. It can be complex without being cluttered. And there's something about the way in which folks of color speak that it really is magnetic. And it gets people always chasing it and mimicking it and copying it. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. But we feel like at the end of the day, like it's important for us to be ourselves and talk the way we talk. Because they're going to copy you anyway. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And let's go a little bit more on what I really love about you is not just like the activism that you talk about, but you're actually about it. You've been on the front lines, you've done a lot of things. And when we're talking about messaging, it's very important to get our message out to the people. So it might be through phone, it might be through text or mail or whatever. Yeah. If I'm thinking about Twitter, Signal, Hustle, Snapchat, anything like that, am I able to use the Abroji keyboard within the tools that are already used, or do I have to use a separate app? The answer is yes, by and large. We try to be on as many platforms as we can, and any ones that we can't, it's because they're blocking us, not because we don't want to. I don't mean that in some deliberate way, somebody's stopped blocking us, but it's sometimes just a coding issue. But what was important for us, again, is we wanted to make sure to be accessible regardless of what the app of the week or month or year is. Everybody at the end of the day needs to text and is going to be emailing and wants to be able to, we created categories. We have a blackness category. We have a political category. That's that is around the topics of the day. We have a Black Girl Magic category because we needed a space for people to feel safe and just to have some damn joy in their life and be carefree. It's important for us that Abroji is something that can add levity to a dialogue or megalog, group chat, no matter what you're doing. We don't need the app. You don't need a separate app. I don't care what platform you prefer. When you're texting her or him, we wanted to make sure to be across as many boards as possible. And we had to do some finagling. We're a copy and paste. Usually you copy and paste the GIF, but some of those don't allow that. For a long time, Facebook Messenger didn't allow that, so we created a save option so it puts the picture into your camera roll. So we try to be adaptive and try to figure out sneaky ways to sneak in. Got it. Yeah, and Star Jones touched on this a little bit in the beginning of the conversation, but when it comes to jobs and underserved communities, part of the reason why a lot of people aren't in tech is because they don't see enough people like us. So a lot of times we're going for the acting jobs, we're going for the sports jobs, we're going for the music jobs, and you've achieved what a lot of people have achieved, and you also have millions of fans that tech companies wish they could hire. And that's a lot of responsibility. Like, how do you feel about that? Are you doing anything to get other actors talking about tech? And it sounds like you're inspired by tech. Yeah, too. I think that a lot of it is doing it and trying to be an example. I mean, anybody, it's not particular to blackness, anybody only pursues attainable goals. All right, if I'm in the hood, as I was in Chicago coming up, none of us wanted to be an astronaut. I don't know anybody that knows anybody that knows an astronaut. I want to do the things that people that look like me do. It's very reasonable to only want to hoop or rap. That's a real job that I know people whose cousins do it. I said this as a teacher. I knew that we were doing great disservice to our students when I was teaching in Philly, when a lot of these kids, just like the schools I went to when I was that young, don't know anybody that knows anybody that benefited from graduating from high school. And we're drilling into them. You have to stay in this box for 8 years, for 12 years, 8 hours a day, so that's the only way out, that's the only way to have a future. How? I don't know anybody that's ever benefited from school. That's real in the hood.
Yeah.
I'll go on. Why don't I just go on the corner and get that money?
Yeah, yeah.
Why? For what? Why would I? What do I need with geometry?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get money.
Yeah.
This is of no use to me.
Yeah.
It's our job to make school practical to our students, and that has to do with putting up examples and making the hours in that day purposeful. So when I think about the tech world, to me, is brand new. I'm a student. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
I knew that I saw a problem, and when trying to create a solution and try to partner with people that have a little bit more experience than me, just like socially, professionally, it's important for me to always be surrounded by people that are smarter than me and have more experience or something that I can learn from.
Yeah.
I see no benefit in being the best or baddest in the group. How are you going to grow?
Yeah.
So in this regard, I think that just like anything else, people learn from example when they see folks doing. That's certainly how I'm learning. So I think it's you can't wait until we're already 20 to look for what the hiring pool, what the job pool is going to be like. Every year of your life is an opportunity for preparation, and we're at the most competitive level we've ever been.
Yeah.
Kids are coding at 7 years old. We know that, right?
Yeah.
So it's too late when you're 12. One would argue it's too late when you're 18.
Yeah.
So we can't go from the top down. It can't start at Google. And how come you're not hiring? We have to start. How are we grooming these kids? In baseball is a big business.
Yeah.
You don't wait till kids are 20 to start drafting them. You have leagues. Basketball is AAU leagues to groom the product to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, players make money, but how do they think they got that money? Because they're generating 15 times that much revenue.
Yeah.
This is about big corporations and big rich getting richer. So for in the tech space, we have to be producing really early, and that means giving kids examples to want to add that to my list. I could do this, I could do that. Oh, now I love Vine. I could make a Vine.
Yeah.
How could I do that? Oh, coding is an opportunity. Girls joining Black Girls Code or something like that. Like we have to give people more attainable goals and make that a reality. And the small part that I can do is try to learn in public.
Yeah.
And put that on young people's list.
Yeah.
Describe my failings, describe my best learning, describe the hiccups that I've experienced. Because what I've learned also is a lot in life is about expectations. And if you know that you're going to come up against some stumbling blocks and what they might look like and what they might smell like, you're less likely to panic and quit when you bump into them.
Yep.
I knew this was coming. She told me this might happen. Don't worry. All I need to do is. That's a lot different than freaking out every time you bump into something. And I've got to say, I'm up here as a member of Abroji, but that's a team thing. There's nothing that I do that I'm doing by myself. Anything that we listed, the things that I do, that's always with the squad.
Yeah.
A squad that I'm learning from much more than they're learning from me.
Yeah.
And it's a team game, and I say that to say I had to partner with folks who had skill sets that I absolutely did not have. Same in relationships, my strength, your weakness, and your weakness, my strength.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us might also opt out or quit before we start because I can't build an app. I just have an idea.
Yeah.
I can't make this movie happen. I just have an idea for a script.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to produce. I don't know how to shoot. I don't know what film stock is.
Yeah.
And that's really about being humble enough to be deferential and create a team and share a little bit of that pie to be able to do that together.
Yeah, no, I think that was very well said. And speaking of team, a lot of people talk about how it's not lonely at the top, but I always like to say you can't climb Everest alone. It does take a team effort. You got to go together. And you touched on this a little bit when it came to the contributions that Black people and people from underserved groups have made on like Twitter and things like that. But how do you feel about companies that take Black culture and sell it right back to us, and none of us are in the room?
Sometimes it bites them in the behind. But I think that, look, what's that? There's plenty of brands. There's one every day. But I think that what we can't, there are big fights and there are small fights. There are some of these things that are predictable and some of these things that we can do something about. It is absolutely normal and expected for companies to try to tap into cool and what the kids are doing. It's their job. They're trying to sell us a bottle of something, a product. They need to know how to speak they want to know how to speak our language. But everything is always kind of relative. We don't tolerate abuse. We don't mind that Bill O'Reilly was racist and misogynist and against Muslims and spouting hate particularly against black and brown people for decades, but something crossed a threshold where, you crossed that line. Everybody has a line of what they're going to tolerate. Something motivates you to march. And there are a lot of people that stood by while we're getting slaughtered in the streets by people we pay, but what got them out was Hillary Clinton losing. Or something. It's everybody has a bar, and I don't say that in judgment. I say we all have a threshold. There's something that you care about that's going to move you off the couch, and there's something else that's going to have you just go get some more cereal. And I think that, or whatever you choose to eat. What was the question?
Like, how do you feel about companies taking black culture?
Yeah,
and selling
it's their job to try to figure out how to be cool. So I don't begrudge them that. But you can't keep banging your head. You can't keep trying the same thing and getting the same result and wonder what's going on, right? Like, if you want to, maybe if I want to tap into what's happening in the movement or movements around the world, obviously a big elephant in the room was Pepsi was a recent thing. I probably have enough humility. Where is the line that you have to work really hard at a certain point to exclude people? I think that people treat this word called diversity is so meaningless to me. What the hell does that mean? Because people consistently treat diversity like this big burden, this additive you have to do in the corporate structure. Gosh, we need a diversity. I got to hire a brown person to tell us that we have to interview 2 other brown people that we won't hire. And it's this additive thing. And the thing is that diversity is not something you have to add to the mix. You're already doing the additive thing, which is stop excluding us.
Yeah.
That's what's already happening in corporate America and government and everywhere else, is this really active, and it's so sewn into the culture, to exclude us, to disqualify us before we walk in, to treat blackness as an act of aggression when you enter the room. You already have 2 strikes when you walk in, and if you twitch, that's different. It's violent. We're criminals in the making, and that's the stuff that you could reduce. You could do less, and do so much more instead of acting like to include us is somehow this whole extra load of work. So when advertising companies are trying to figure out a way to tap into cool, maybe not only talk to cool people, but pay them. Yeah. All these companies consistently are bringing my friends and people that I know and love, activists, brilliant folks from all over the country that are crushing themselves and sacrificing so much and missing meals and time with their family in the streets, fighting for equity and justice, bringing them up to some big tech company, bringing them up to your big corporation to give a talk for free.
Yeah.
You're a for-profit company. You generate an amazing revenue, and you want to have, and this is, again, what you said about why we created Brogy in the first place. We're constantly swagging out other people's stuff.
Yep.
You want us to come in and tell you how we did it. I've had this happen with several companies who tried to rip us off, who will remain nameless, and other conferences I've been to that, that are constantly weaving these kind of missionary narratives around white saviors and everything else, and asking us, well, come and tell us how we can do it better.
Yeah.
Where's the second half of that sentence?
Yeah.
I don't work for you. You could save so much time and energy by are we that bad? Is it that hard to hire? Just hire Ruben. But you're already paying a bunch of mediocre people anyway.
Yeah.
Just hire somebody who else is qualified to be in the room. I can't possibly, the Trump administration can, make legislation about women's rights with all men.
Yeah.
That's clearly insane. So why can you tell us, weave narratives to us around black life or people who are disenfranchised seeking a better life for themselves without anybody who can relate to them? That level of arrogance is so astounding that it built the country.
Wow.
And so that's inherited, that's tradition. And we've got to break that tradition by calling it as we see it.
Yeah.
And when you see something, say something, as we say in New York on the subway when you're trying to get somewhere and then stop and you just want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we have to. I separate 2 things. It's their job to try to sell to us.
Yep.
And your mom is not always going to be cool. Your dad, I'm a dad. I'm going to get to a certain age where I'm going to embarrass my kids. I'm not going to be cool forever.
Yeah.
And it's okay that advertisers and these companies are not as cool as we are or we think we are. That's part of the game. That's not That's not the big problem.
Yeah.
The problem is, allowing, the cultural tradition of excluding folks that are not white straight men from the conversation.
Yeah.
That's not a qualification.
It's not.
Whiteness is not a qualification.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, that's very well said. It's a great answer. And you also are focused on curating and reaching an audience that's primarily outside of tech. You and I both have podcasts that are primarily outside of tech.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more, like it's related to the company question that are trying to sell to us, but can you talk a little bit more about the power of storytelling and like why storytelling is important and how you're using your platform to inspire our communities to break into tech and why that's very important?
Yeah, I think something I learned, it's important not to try to find a balance between, great song, preaching to the converted. And I think that with storytelling, something I learned in film school or the film classes I was taking at Temple, and soon after, once I started making my way into acting, was that I think I was undervaluing coming up the role that narrative storytelling, and by that I mean kind of fiction, just movies, not documentaries, but just movies, play. They're just stories. It's whether animated or real life. They're just stories. And for so many of us here and abroad, it's actually the way it holds far more weight than that, right? Narrative storytelling movies are ostensibly news. They are the lens by which so much of the world absorbs information. It's how we know about the history of countries and people and civilizations and what we think cops do, what the cowboy is, how sexual behavior, how men should treat women, what is normal. It creates normal. And normal is really, really important because it's the bar, how we measure our own behavior and our own perceived kind of decency. And so I started to really realize, we talked before about how language is political, storytelling is political. Mm-hmm. If 7 out of the 8 movies that you see have Arabs as terrorists,
yeah.
Arabs are terrorists.
Yeah.
If I didn't live, I've said this before, if I grew up, I understand, I think there's a lot of rationale. I understand it's rational to be racist in some ways. If I only watch TV and I live in Idaho, and the way I see blackness is on TV and in rap videos, which are made by corporations to sell products, I would have a perception about black men and black women. What am I, insane? I'm looking at the evidence. That's evidence of something. So that's why storytelling matters, because it gets people killed.
Yep.
It makes it really okay for us to tolerate looking at Mike Brown's body. I'm really used to seeing black men bleeding to death. It's not a big deal. What am I supposed to be upset about? I see it all the time. And I don't see anybody ever held accountable for it.
Yeah.
So how are we astonished that nobody cares?
Yeah.
When have they ever cared?
Yeah.
This is a for-profit industry.
Yeah.
And if they're not bleeding to death, we'll put them in a cage.
Yeah.
That I think, me kind of processing that it's all kind of documentary, it's all kind of treated that way, whether it's fair or not, added some value to it for me to dive in. And none of this was in front of the camera. It was always behind the camera. It was wanting to be involved in the creative conversations, being involved in framing story, and trying to really, and realizing that you don't have to tell stories, particularly in comedy. I found something later as an actor who kind of reads scripts for a living. I was really astonished at how many comedic moments, comedy movies, go out of their way to be racist.
Yeah.
That there's always there's a butt of a joke that, why is the black woman the butt of the joke?
Yeah.
That's not even a part of the story. The story's about 2 guys at a wedding. Why are you making fun of the gay guy?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with, I read a script. That was offered to me, and these 2 white protagonists on an adventure or something, and he told a joke, yeah, man, those 2 things go together like cops, those 2 things go together like crime and cornrows.
Wow.
And then just kept going, the story. It's like, time out, excuse me.
Yeah.
What the fuck
did
was
you just
that?
Say that? Yeah.
That's not even, that's not what the movie's about.
Yeah.
You're going, it's like being on Twitter, people that go out of their way, you don't follow me, you're not a part of you're going out of your way to find me, to tell me you're going to kill me, N-word?
Yeah.
That's not a part of my day. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? So people work really hard to be horrible. Being horrible is a culture,
Yeah.
and in itself. And it's important for us to kind of find a balance between insulating yourself with that by knowing enough about your own
Yep.
history and value to be able to withstand it, and also to understand how important it is to venture out and try to really matriculate the ball down the field.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times, a lot of these stories, desensitize people. It's also important to understand what roles actually exist in tech, because we talked a little bit more about you were teaching in Philly, you talked about that environment. A lot of people don't even know that tech world exists, and a lot of people that do know about tech might think it's just engineering, that there's other things that are out there. So
Exactly. And this is the new world now where if I had a cool idea and I called you up, Ruben, I got this great idea for a TV show. Maybe 20 years ago, I'd only think of a half-hour TV show.
Yeah.
And I'd broaden into an hour drama because Shonda makes those. And then it'll be an indie film. And then now it could be virtual reality. Now I've got an idea for augmented reality. Now I've got an idea for an app.
Yeah.
Now I've got an idea for how come every time, we don't have grocery stores, but we have bodegas, but what if I've got an idea about how can I get food to my community better, and that's not a movie, but now we have apps.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to build an app, but now we have access to it because I listened to Ruben's podcast, because I heard what so-and-so said. Now I've got a website to go to. Now I've read 2 articles. Then I followed somebody on Twitter. Now you're plugged in.
Exactly.
And that is the new curriculum.
Yeah, 100%.
Right now we're creating curriculum every day just by having accessible information. That's all a textbook is.
Yeah.
Is a gathering of aggregated information.
Yeah.
Really overpriced.
Yeah.
That's going to expire right away.
Yeah.
But we should be taking advantage of this so-called information age.
100%. What's next for Brogy? I know, Black people are the undisputed kings and queens of memes. I know you guys have
We're really
guests.
good.
You guys gonna start doing that next?
We right now Abroji is speaking of memes, stickers. One of the things we make sure we do is that any question we have or anything we want to do because it's hot at the moment, is it language? Is it communicative? Will I be able to use it to communicate an idea as opposed to it just being fashionable and a popular assortment of images? So we have a couple tricks up our sleeve. I think I've got my co-founders would be upset if I gave away our secrets too quickly, but we do have some cool new iterations coming up for how we're broadening our horizons and really. What's really cool that's happening in the community that around Abroji is that, and this had nothing to do with us, and it's us being responsive to the community that uses it, is that people have started all over the country Abroji battles, like organized group chats where you use Abroji, you pick a topic, you set a timer, and you roast each other and see how quickly you can communicate ideas with GIFs that are curated. And it's like a whole subculture. It's a whole thing that I found out from this great group of people at a bar who accosted me. They're like, you created Abroji. Look at our battles. I crushed it. What do you think about this? I love this new category. And there's this whole world of people just getting it in around figuring out how to communicate faster and more efficiently, and the beauty is they're able to they don't have to change the way they talk or think or embrace their own language. I think one thing that I would say that I found kind of the people embracing that I have a dialect, that I have a regionalism, that I talk a certain way, that I think a certain way, that I use phrasing a certain way, that it's no longer. It doesn't have to be illegal. It doesn't have to be something to be embarrassed about. I was talking with somebody who works in corporate America, and they were talking about having to constantly kind of check. We all know how to code switch. We all know how to speak a certain way and speak a different way at home. At least 2 versions, if not 3 or 4. And we can all relate to that. And we're talking about that at work, but constantly being surprised that they're restricting the way they speak, and then they see their coworkers using the language that they were actually trying to protect themselves from using because they thought it would compromise their value in the company. But then do I mimic? Do I do that? Are they creating new space for me to do it, or is it going to be interpreted differently if I use my own words? And that reminded me of the way there's so much anti-blackness in policy, corporate and public, but black women's hair. It reminded me of how black women's hair is essentially illegal. And it's unprofessional to wear all the hairstyles that are unprofessional to wear are black women hairstyles that white people can't do. That's all. It's just what are the ways that we can't wear our hair that you can? That's unprofessional.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
And that I just found a parallel between that and language. And, but once they learn how to boxer braid their hair, have at it, girls. Go ahead, do it. I love what you're doing. Oh, you're copying them. We're not allowed to go into your establishments wearing Timbs. But now Timbs are the fashion spring accessory of the day.
I saw that.
I'm sorry, what was it? Like, what? Those things are all tied. That is all political, right?
Yeah.
That is all culture being used as a bludgeon or a new avenue, a door being opened.
Yeah.
Who owns that? Who has a right to that? And that is us constantly, again, needing a white protagonist first for us to contort ourselves into their body. And with whiteness as the center, and Abroji really is born out of something where we can, what if we center ourselves? Yeah. What if it starts with the way we talk? Everybody else is welcome.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to speak the way we speak anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do it whenever you're ready, jump on in. But this is the way we speak. And that's okay. And to love ourselves is not to hate anyone else.
Yeah.
Right? That's all that is.
Yeah. No, we're excited to see what's next for Abroji. We're going to move into a lightning round, which is we got about 5 minutes for Q&A, a minute for each questions. The first question that we have is, how can we use technology to advance social change?
Oh, great question.
1 minute.
We're doing it. Look, this movement, the movement around Black Lives, Ferguson cannot be overstated, the value of the incredible people in that community that not only stood up for themselves, but stood up for themselves every day for such an incredibly long period of time. Everybody kind of thought it was just going to peter out and to stop. And that was using Twitter and social media as news. We created a whole new channel to tell you, you're not going to tell our story, so all right, we're going to tell it ourselves. Yep. You're going to misreport what happened at the Quick Trip or whatever. You're going to misreport what we did and how we didn't throw rocks at the cops. Didn't happen. I have it on video. You're lying. Chief Dotson in St. Louis. Yeah. We consistently caught people lying about us. That's the only thing that's really changed now is we have technology to tell you, A, our stories are valid, we are being treated like animals, and also you're being dishonest, and we're paying your salaries. So that is the way black folks used in the movement, created a movement, and used Twitter to articulate their truth, is the best example for technology having any value at all in our lives. Yeah. It's preserving human life and giving people a real reason to kind of, and real tools in their toolbox to speak truth to power, but also have a real impact, not just feel. Yeah. Right? Racism and oppression isn't about feeling. It's about power. As Stokely Carmichael said, if a white man wants to lynch me, that's his problem. If he has the power to lynch me, that's my problem. Yeah. That's the difference. And if we can use technology in a way that that consistently, gives us a real voice. You're not going to give us a seat at the table. We'll build a seat.
100%. Yeah. So, what's the biggest challenge facing activists who are all working towards equity for today, and how do we solve that problem?
It's a small question. I think that one thing I will say, I can't possibly really answer that, but one thing I will say is it's really, oppression, to use a broad term, has so many tentacles that it's so exhausting to try to know where to start, where's the middle, what's my goal, how am I going to, this game of whack-a-mole with all, you could focus entirely on housing or healthcare or police accountability or, school push-outs or school to prison pipeline, mass incarceration. That's a lifetime of work. And so many of us have to dedicate people get to live just a normal life. I just want to play the piano. Other people have to deal with tackling all of the world's issues. And that's really exhausting. It can be really self-destructive. It can ruin relationships. It can ruin, it can just exhaust you. It can burn you out. And, I think that what technology does is it certainly allows us to have access to more people more often, which can either be something that is really, really useful, or it can send us down we can waste a lot of time. We've all been down a YouTube rabbit hole, and you're like, I just spent 2 hours looking at kids' dance parties or whatever. I've got kids, so I get stuck on their previously watched videos. But as you see,
good
this
answer.
is
it's a good
okay.
Answer. And last question. So, what can everybody in this room do to promote social change?
Pay attention. I think that one of the things, it's really hard nowadays to be so blissfully ignorant. Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I say that, granted, we're all ignorant about something, certainly most things. I couldn't tell you about 95% of the topics in the world, but I've chosen things that matter to me. And if we claim that we care about equity, we claim that we care about women's reproductive rights, we claim that we care about any things on the Democratic platform or whatever party you affiliate yourself with. Something that my dad always yelled at me when I was a kid, trying to evade personal responsibility, as we all did, was if you don't know, find out. I don't want to hear any damn excuses. If you don't know, you knew you didn't know, and either you chose to find out or you didn't. That's your responsibility. Yeah. And now, so we have access to a lot of information. There are a lot of incredible articles and a lot of dumb think pieces, but there's a lot of stuff out there on any topic. What we can do is try to be, it's much more important for you to wait and really be ready to have an important substantive conversation than to false start. You know, that issue, particularly being, I would imagine, being a woman or being brown or being gay or trans, we constantly experience these microaggressions of people talking at or around or about us in a way that's demeaning or degrading, and you have to decide whether to jump in and be that angry black woman, that angry person that's going to straighten that out in the middle of the break room where people are just getting coffee and it's 9 a.m.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I didn't even check my email yet. Now I gotta, God damn. And like that's the reality, and you have to choose your battles. When are you gonna jump in and have this little sword fight? Are you gonna? Because you can be right all day. You can be right to death. You can be right straight into the unemployment line. Who won that battle?
Yeah.
Not you. But we have to. But it's important for us, I think, to have that real foundation of information, so that when you do go to battle, you're actually having an impact. Because what's worse than, like, no matter what, racism is real, but we've all had that cringe moment where somebody cries racism at a thing that was really just their failing or they misunderstood it and you blew it, and now people get to pretend that racism isn't real because she cried racism because her chair was broken. Like, no, there's real problems, and you just kind of like wiped us off. You just took away our credibility.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to do that. So I think we have to respect you respect your word enough to be ready, so you don't always have to get ready when something happens.
Yeah, if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So everybody, please download the Abroji app. Make sure
it's free. Come on.
It's amazing. It's phenomenal. Put your hands together for Jesse.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That was just amazing, right? I'm taking all kind of notes and loving every single minute of it. Jesse, you articulated in ways I can't begin to echo on the need to stay woke. I have definitely downloaded the app. I'm gonna learn how to use gifts correctly. I am kind of mad that Oprah got her own category and you don't have no star category. We got to talk about that. Okay, we have to talk about that because I already went through it, you know? Well, I already went through it, so I know what the categories already say. I may not know which thing to call it, but I sure as hell know when I see Oprah name and I don't see mine. Just so we clear. Okay, Dion, Mr. Jones. All right, come on now, get with it now, get with it. I saw the Honorable Elijah Cummings come in. Can y'all give my congressman a round of applause? That's Dr. Rockamore's husband, but I said I do get to hug on him a little bit because, you know, my parents live in Maryland, and they're retired civil servants. They need stuff to do, so please ask them to do some stuff, Congressman. And then, of course, I was reading the congressman. He was a little late because he had to deal with Flynn and the lies they lie about and forgot they lied about. And, ooh, Lord, have mercy. You cannot put a flower in an asshole and call it a vase. Yes. I'm sorry. Woo, you cannot do that. Yes, I'm still salty. There are several stages of grief, and I am in anger right now. I am finished with denial, and I'm now in anger. Jesse, you are brilliant. Ruben, wonderful moderation. Another round of applause. Maya and I are over there using the social media and tweeting out everything we can tweet out, and Facebook and everything we can Facebook, Instagramming. You know, we didn't take selfies because that would have been tacky in the middle of the thing. But we want you all and encourage you all to really get involved over the next few days and make sure you treat diversity and inclusion not just as the right thing to do, but the smart and business savvy thing to do. Diversity and inclusion is the new business imperative. Jesse articulated it just so perfectly that the majority culture takes our culture and incorporates it into their lives. And we have to figure out how to monetize our own culture before it is taken over by the majority culture. I said throughout the recent presidential campaign that the browning of America is coming. It has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. The numbers are the numbers. And the browning of America is not just Black and brown people anymore. It includes women. It includes the LGBT community. It includes veterans. It includes the disabled. It includes people who are not traditionally at the table. And so this summit is designed for you to look at ways that those who are not traditionally at the table can lead the discussions at the damn table from now on. So I am so grateful to you all being here, grateful for Jesse and Ruben and engaging us in conversation, and will keep us talking. And thank you to the audience for joining us today. I hope the next couple of days you will connect with the world-class thinkers that we've brought together, and doers, not just thinkers, but the doers from business and academia and government, the foundations and the nonprofits, to chart a path forward to create opportunities for everybody who sits around that table. We're looking forward to the next generation, and we are setting that table, but we have to prepare everybody to bring something to the table other than an appetite. So I am going to ask you to remain and enjoy yourselves for the duration of the reception. It's supposed to go to 9 o'clock. I think they got some free liquor over there. I'm in my pretty dress, so I can't have the brown liquor, but I can have a glass of wine. Yes. And I'm sure you're happy when I say this concludes the speaking portion of our evening. Have a good night.